Welcome to the Law School Insider, where we have conversations with students, lawyers, and employers.
Succeeding in law school is something that you must prepare for, not only before you begin, but throughout your law school journey, and that's what this podcast is all about. I am your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis, and I will draw from my over 20 years of experience in the college admission field, as well as bring forth the experiences of others as we delve deeper into the issues. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Law School Insider. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Lewis. This is a podcast brought to you by Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, and we're so excited to have you here today. Now, it is almost the time of year where you're going to see a ton of law fairs, law forums from Law School Admission Council coming out. You're going to start getting emails about all these different opportunities to be able to go and visit different representatives and be able to see what these law schools have for you as a student. And it's important to be able to understand what you need to be doing to prepare for these different events, because there are specific things that you can do to be better prepared and to be better ready for having those conversations, asking the right questions, and more. And today we are bringing back Brianne Myers, who is the Director of Admissions at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, to talk about that, to give you some great insights into these law fairs, law forums, to help you to be able to maneuver through them and better understand what you need to do to be able to be successful in that journey for yourself. So, Brianne, thanks so much for joining us again this week.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Lewis.
It is my pleasure to have you back. We had a blast having you on in the past, and definitely this topic is one that is so important because a lot of students don't always know what to expect. So to start off today, let's talk a little bit about these law fairs, these law forums. What should someone expect when they walk in the room if they've never gone to one of these events before? What are these events really like?
The way most of the law fairs or law forums are set up is there's going to be an initial check-in table that the students will go to. They may have to provide their email information, some basic contact information for whoever is hosting the event. And then usually they're going to walk into a very large ballroom or gymnasium that is going to have a lot of tables set up. Some of these fairs may have 50 different schools there. Some of them may have 175 schools. And usually each school will have their own table. They'll have a really clear table kind of cover or banner so that it's easy to identify what that school is. Some fairs or forums will also give students a map so that if they're searching for a particular school, they can identify that. But it's very easy to just come in, you walk around. It's a very informal setting that you can kind of bounce around from school to school and you can have conversations. You may have to wait in a small line to speak with the representative that you want, depending on how busy the fair is. But it's really a wonderful chance to be able to go around from table to table. Most of the schools are going to have materials so you can pick up a brochure, but you can also have a conversation with a law school representative. Sometimes that will be someone who is a full-time admissions office staff member. In other cases, it may be what's commonly referred to as a seasonal recruiter. Usually those are people who have just graduated from the law school. They may have just sat for the bar exam. And so they're going to really be able to give you a really fresh student perspective. They may not have all of the information from a technical admissions standpoint, but both of those kinds of recruiters are really invaluable resources for a prospective student to be able to talk to.
Now, being someone that has attended these fairs in the past, I know that sometimes you see students that are kind of aimlessly walking around, but many times there are students that have very targeted schools that they want to talk to. What are some of the things that students should do to prepare to identify the schools that they want to talk to, or should they talk to everybody that's there? What are some of your thoughts on that?
I think absolutely if a student has been doing their research and they're coming into an event and a school that they're interested in is attending, they should absolutely go speak with that school in person and get that information. But I also think it's really important to broaden your search. A lot of times when people are attending law fairs, they may not have taken the LSAT yet, and so they might not have a good sense of which schools they're going to be looking at. And you would hate to get your score a month later and find out that maybe your hometown school that might be an excellent option for you is a school that you had a chance to meet with and you didn't take that opportunity. So I think if you have set schools that you want to see, make sure that those are a priority, but also step outside of your comfort zone a little bit and talk to some different schools, whether you're interested in the location that they're at, or maybe you just want to learn more about what kinds of clinical opportunities they offer. Definitely use that opportunity to get as much information as you can, because even if you're not interested in that particular school, you may hear something that is really important to you, and that might influence the questions that you ask the next school or the things that you're looking at in your law school search.
Now, being someone that has sat at those tables before, I know that you probably get some students that come with very good questions, some that maybe don't have as great of questions. What are some of the questions that you personally hope that every student is thinking in their mind or is willing to ask you as someone on the other side of the table?
I'm a firm believer that there are no bad questions. So I think if a student is thinking it in their mind, my hope is that they articulate that concern or question to me. I always hope that a student is going to take this opportunity to ask the questions that are not easily found online. There's a lot of very standardized information that law schools put out there. And so I think to just walk around, to have an in-person conversation of a 509 data that you can go online and very quickly get is kind of a missed opportunity. There's other information that might be really important to law school fit or things that are important to students that is not going to be easily found online. For example, if you're really passionate about particular student organizations, or maybe you're planning to attend part-time, or you're going to be a commuter student and you want to get a sense for the campus, and do most students study on campus, or do most students study off campus, or do most students live on campus or live off campus? Those kinds of things are not going to be as apparent from most law schools' websites like a median LSAT score would be. So I would say use that opportunity to ask the things that you can't find online. You know, what kinds of student organizations do you have? What's a typical week like for a student? You know, how many of your students would you say are actively involved? Are there a lot of student organizations? Are most of your students involved in competitions? What opportunities are there to participate in law reviews and law journals? Are there foreign study opportunities? Can I attend classes over the summer? Do you offer academic services? Those kinds of things are really important, and it could be really influential in a student's decision. And so I think it's really a missed opportunity if you just go from table to table and say, what is your median LSAT? Like I said, because all of that's very easy to find online. So seek out the information that you can't easily find online.
Great points. Now, what are some of the pitfalls, some of the things that some people may do at a law forum, at a law fair, that might not either, one, put them in good stead with the law school, or two, that they should be aware of so that they're not doing when they're walking around and talking to people?
Definitely students just always want to be polite. As I mentioned, there are no bad questions, but if you do have a concern, you want to make sure that you articulate it in a way that's not going to come across as rude or anything like that. So I think as far as pitfalls, just don't miss an opportunity to speak with different schools that may be really helpful for you to speak with. So don't only go to a law forum to speak with one school and then leave. I think that's kind of a missed opportunity. And then obviously just be polite and courteous, not only to the law school that you're hoping to impress, but to everyone you meet. Be polite at the check-in table, be polite to other recruiters that you pass, be polite to other people waiting in line, because recruiters could observe your behavior, or it's a close-knit community and you don't want to have a reputation of being rude to anyone. So I think just being polite, asking your questions, and taking advantage of the resources that are available.
Sometimes I get questions from students that are asking, well, should I bring a resume? Should I bring other documents with me to be able to put out there, to give to the representatives? What are your takes on that?
Different schools and different recruiters may have different approaches to that. My personal preference is, while it can be really helpful in a moment to look at a resume and it's really interesting, to travel around with a bunch of loose pieces of paper, especially when most law school admissions offices are paperless anyway, is probably not going to be the most effective use of your paper resumes. But certainly you can always offer to follow up with the recruiter when you get their business card, and to email them your resume later on. If you've already applied to a school, you can note to that recruiter that you've already filed your application, and then you can always send a follow-up, kind of thank you email. I think that is something that's always going to be very well received.
Now, some students may be living in areas where there may be many opportunities to go to law fairs, law forums, many different things. But there's others that may not be aware of what kind of opportunities are around. where are some of the best places to go to be able to identify what law fairs are coming up, what law forums are coming up, to be able to stay on top of all of that information?
I would definitely suggest starting with the LSAC website. They list all of the different law forums. The forums tend to be the best attended events. So if you can only go to one event, the forum has almost every single law school at it, whereas a law fair may only have 50% of the nation's law schools. So if you can only seek out one event, a law school forum is a great thing. The LSAC website also often includes various law fairs that may be open to students outside of just that school's student body. So definitely I would say start at lsac.org.
Now, do you have any recommendations for students as they're going around, they're collecting information, they're picking up flyers, they're picking up paperwork, on how to best organize the information to better help them to be able to sift through, have that apples to apples experience, to be able to put the different law schools side by side?
I think if you have particular questions that are so critical to you that you're going to ask every single school that question, you definitely want to have a way to organize that so that you can remember the information. So whether that's maybe like a pre-printed chart that you make for yourself, and maybe before you come in, you write the name down of 10 different law schools that you plan to speak with so that you can organize all of their answers, if it's kind of like a simple yes, no thing, into a little grid. I think that's a really good idea. I also think just in general, having some kind of notebook so that you can write down, this is the name of the school and these were the interesting points. I think that's very helpful. If you speak to many schools in one day, it may seem like it's going to be so easy to remember all of your conversations, but the more schools you talk to, the easier it could be to become confused about, was it this school that told me that, or was it this school that told me that? And so definitely bring a notebook and a pen with you so that you can kind of keep track of your notes. Or if you had like a sticky note, you could probably add just a couple notes on the cover of the view book of the school, or just tuck it inside the view book. And then that would be a really good way to kind of keep things organized as well.
Those are all great tips and great advice. Now, do you have any other pieces of advice, tips, resources that you think that students should know about or should take with them when they're going to these different events for themselves?
I think I would just say don't be afraid. There are a lot of students who attend law fairs because maybe they've known their whole lives that they want to go to law school, and they've worked in a law firm, and they have mentors who are lawyers. And so they know that this is something that they should be doing. And I would just caution prospective students, don't be scared. Even if you haven't taken the LSAT yet, or you feel that you don't know much about law school recruiters are very happy to talk to you. They're happy to answer your questions. They're happy to talk to you depending on wherever you are in the process. So don't feel like because you didn't plan in advance to attend this event, if you're walking through your school union and you see that there's a bunch of law schools there, don't be afraid to stop and have a conversation and to ask those questions that are on your mind. Ideally, it's wonderful to come really well prepared to these events and to dress professionally and to do all of that. But even if you can't, don't pass up the opportunity to get that good information when you have that resource available to you.
Well, Brianne, I really appreciate you being back on with us again this week. And one thing that I will throw out there when we talked about where you can find information, make sure to look at the law school webpage that you are interested in attending potentially, because a lot of times they will tell you where they're going to be. I know here at Western Michigan University Cooley Law School, they do offer you a full list of all the different places where we have representatives attending. So you can connect with people at the forums or law fairs that we will be attending, but other law schools will do the same. But Brianne, thank you again so much for being here. We'll definitely have to have you back on in the future, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. It's always a pleasure.
Well, that was another great guest this week on the Law School Insider. If you have an interest in being a guest on the show, drop me an email at lawschoolinsider@cooley.edu. And thank you all for listening today, and remember, you have the ability and right to take control of your law school's success. I hope you'll continue listening, creating a plan for success that will prepare you to achieve the dreams that you have set for yourself. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening. You're on your way to being a law school insider. Please subscribe to stay connected and come back again next time as we speak to more students, lawyers, and employers.